Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a Screencast-O-Matic presentation and recording for the reading for the part of the lesson on the 10 things to know about US culture. Before I get started, please let me encourage you to open up to the correct part for today's lesson. And once again, please remember that you are to fill out the chart that has you analyzing these top 10 things to know for people coming to the United States about US culture. Just for clarity here, just so you guys understand, this is a website that was essentially made to help advertise some of the cultural norms that Americans hold dear for our cultural practices. So in your actual assignment, you're going to have to just analyze the characteristics as they're explained here, just describe them, and then of course in the right-hand column, explain whether or not these happen to be true just in your opinion, okay? Let's go ahead and get started, and remember you can replay any part of this presentation for clarity later on. Living in a new country is going to be fun and exciting, but it's also going to be an adjustment. You might find yourself asking, what does this phrase mean? Or why do Americans do that? In response to some American habits, we'll share some of the most common things to keep in mind about Americans and US culture before you arrive. So clearly this was made for, once again, people who are coming to the United States to live here permanently. Number one is think big. So whereas other countries emphasize being practical, compact, and concise, Americans often prefer large and luxurious. Don't be surprised by the enormous trucks and massive SUVs sprawling across parking lots. Americans like their space. To them, large can be practical. Thinking big also applies to American food. Most restaurants serve very large portions, so it's not uncommon for someone to order a sizable meal and then take the remainder home as leftovers. Some restaurant entrees are also meant to be shared. If you're going out to eat and aren't sure of the portion size, it's okay to ask your server what they recommend. There's a counter movement against the big is better mentality. However, many people, especially young urbanites, are buying eco-friendly cars, shopping for local and healthy foods, and trying to lower their consumption and waste as much as possible. Next here is to-go concept, eating on the run. Most Americans are always on the go, and it seems that they are often running from one appointment to the next, going to and from work, picking up kids, running errands, and going to business meetings and social outings. So because Americans are regularly on the move, there's often not enough time to have a formal sit-down meal. So a common expression you'll hear is 24 hours in a day is not enough. You may be surprised to see Americans walking around with coffee mugs, beverages, or food packaged in to-go containers. You'll probably see people eating a slice of pizza on the street, especially in New York City, or drinking a cappuccino while in line at the bank. You'll notice that drive-through windows are common at fast food restaurants around the country, and according to DoSomething.org, 20% of all American meals are eaten in the car. For many Americans, there isn't enough time to sit down in a caf and enjoy a cup of coffee, or relax for a few minutes and eat a snack, so you'll often hear them order their food and drinks to go. Going out to eat or ordering takeout. Americans eat not only in the interest of time and convenience, but because it's fun. The US is a melting pot of different cultures, bringing along a variety of tasty food options. So dining out allows Americans to explore new cuisines and food varieties, and even in small American towns, you're likely to find pizza, Chinese, Japanese, or Mexican food. In larger cities, you'll find restaurants devoted to Ethiopian, Brazilian, or Afghani cuisine. It's important to keep in mind that people's habits always vary, so some people rarely eat out, but it's not uncommon for Americans to eat out several times a week. In addition to bringing lunch from home, many Americans get takeout for lunch or go to lunch every day. Next here is sports. Many Americans love and follow sports, the most popular being football, baseball, and basketball. You'll discover that a major difference between your home country and the USA is that the following of soccer is much smaller in the US than in other countries. Sports can be a huge uniting and dividing factor among Americans. In fact, during football and basketball season, you might see your coworkers getting into spirited debates about whose team is better. Football is fun to watch, but you can be pretty confusing to follow. But you can ask for your American colleagues to help you out. You might even understand why over 100 million Americans watched the 2017 Super Bowl. Competition. Like many other cultures, Americans thrive on competition. From a young age, children are encouraged to work hard and try their best to succeed at a task, particularly in academics, sports, and other hobbies. Universities tend to be very competitive, so parents prepare their kids early for the admissions process. Some high schools and even preschools have competitive admission, and even Girl Scouts vie to sell the most cookies during fundraising drives to earn great prizes. You will see that many Americans are ambitious as well. They are proactive, and if they want to accomplish something, they go for it. They don't tend to sit back and wait for others to catch up. Next is political correctness, or being PC. Since the US is so diverse, there's a general practice of always respecting other cultures and people's differences, especially when communicating and expressing your ideas. An underlying rule is not to use words or expressions that could be interpreted as offensive regardless of whose company you are in. Your coworkers may be of different ages, genders, and races, and political correctness is a way to help everybody feel comfortable with the group dynamic. Next is small talk. A lot of Americans participate in what is called small talk, where you make conversation with strangers or acquaintances about non-conversational or non-controversial topics, such as weather, sports, or popular television shows. While waiting at a bus stop, in line at a store, or in an elevator, don't be startled if a stranger says something to you like, "Did you watch the Super Bowl last night? What a game." They might also make a joke about the long line you're both in, or comment on the current situation. Small talk is supposed to be harmless, so it's not okay if a stranger says something that makes you uncomfortable. Independence. The idea of being self-sufficient is valued highly. In the US, many American kids and teenagers leave home for extended periods of time, often for summer camps or travel. Upon graduating secondary school, many Americans choose colleges and universities outside of and often far from their hometowns. College students generally live on their own or in residence halls and with other students while at school for 2 or 4 years, and many move away from their childhood homes after graduation. After 17 or 18 years, most Americans no longer live at home with their families. They also do their own shopping, laundry, cooking, and pursue careers or studies on their own. Next, here's diversity. The US is often called a melting pot because its people come from many different backgrounds and cultures, and there's such a wide variety of beliefs, values, and traditions. There is no such thing as a typical American. That's part of what makes it such an interesting place. So customs vary from region to region and family to family. If you're invited to a cookout in California, that might mean grilling on the beach, and in Texas, it could be a barbecue competition in a park or a block party in the middle of the street in New York City. So get out and experience whatever traditions your host community has to offer. Speaking up. In general and in the workplace, Americans are known for speaking up and generally going after what they want. Particularly in the workplace, you may be surprised to see that Americans are not afraid to voice their ideas. While your supervisor is your superior and should always be treated with respect, it's okay not to hold back and ask a question if you have one. If you need clarification on a project, your employer would prefer that you let them know. While there's certainly a difference between speaking up and being subversive or rude, it's okay to say something. So this is just a basic overview of the American culture. If you found these facts interesting, you can check out a career training at USA Participants account of culture in the USA. And of course, reading won't immerse you in a culture. If you really want to experience the USA, consider applying to an American internship to see the country while simultaneously furthering your career. So as you guys can see, this is from an outside perspective looking in, which is quite interesting to analyze our culture from this perspective. For the next half of the lesson, you're going to be looking at the top 10 things from WatchMojo that culture shock Americans. So good luck in completing the rest of the chart, and good luck in completing the rest of the lesson. Thank you.